This podcast is part of the Listen Frederick Podcast Network. To learn more, visit listenfrederick.com.
What's up, everybody? It's episode 61 of Beers in the Lot. On this episode, we talked about a really surprising topic that nobody expected. The season starting up. We also touched on what some of the players might be doing with their downtime when recovering from injuries. Maybe they play a little video games. Who knows? Then we hit on the Olympics and some of the countries already announcing some of their players and our thoughts on the matter. And a few other random things towards the end. Well, let's get going.
Thunderous pour from Rigsby. It looks like a festive type beer. What are you drinking, Rigsby?
It is Lone Oak Farm Brewing's Oktoberfest. So they're a farm brewery down in Olney, Maryland.
Nice.
Yeah. So trying to stay local when possible. So I'm not even going to ask John. So I'll ask Aaron. What does he have?
I have one of the ones that I've had previously.
I hate her.
This is a return from Millstream Brewing Company. This is a Windmill Wheat, American wheat. It's pretty good. You know, making a reappearance. Obviously like it. It's not bad. What do you have, John?
So I also went local. I have a Wegmans sparkling lime water.
Local.
I also went local grocery store.
Well to grocery to table. There it is.
Yeah, distributor to grocery store to table. You're right. Yeah. Still going strong. My mind is strong. I'm ready.
You're still master of your domain.
I'm still master of my domain. That's right. It hasn't even been hard, and like drinking a ton more water. I mean, I drink a lot anyway because I don't like soda. I think we're all the same way. We're not like soda people. We're just like water, beer, coffee people.
I'm a Mountain Dew guy. I'll drink Mountain Dew all day. Because I'm a degenerate.
But you don't pound it every day like you used to, right?
Yeah. I only drink it when I get Taco Bell, which is kind of
literally every day.
It's not every day. It's like every week, at least once or twice.
Yeah. It's your little treat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, so what's going on? We got NHL starting up this week. Tomorrow, right?
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Tomorrow being Tuesday.
Right.
Correct.
Got some preseason drama going on too with the Hurricanes in Montreal. Did we hear about that? With the we saw that on Twitter, I think, right?
Oh yeah, they didn't play the league
Canes
mandated.
Didn't play the games. Yeah.
Yeah. Probably because the owner was too cheap to front the travel bill or something.
Oh man,
they had to pay.
We always talk about the Canes.
Unfortunately,
because they always do dumb stuff.
Yeah. When you play dumb games, you win dumb prizes. But the best part about that tweet, I forget who was it. Was it Chris Johnson or Friedman? It was one of the NHL. It may have been Drager. And he said that the team that pointed it out to the league office was Montreal, which I just thought was even better. Like, hey, those guys over there didn't do it. I actually was, this is me being a total nerd, I was kind of looking at the Canes roster and comparing stats from last year. Dougie Hamilton had 180 shots last year for that team and led the team in shots. I don't see where they're making up 180 shots this year.
Yeah, going Moneyball wise, they lost a big dude there with Hamilton. If they're just gonna make up his missing stats, then those are big shoes to fill.
Guys Cockney has his work cut out for him, I guess.
Oh.
Well, there was even talks that they were gonna. He was drafted as a center. Montreal used him at center and then scratched him, and didn't like his production. I don't know why it went sideways for the kid in Montreal. There could be a bunch of things. So whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He was third overall, so you would like to see him do well. But there were talks that Carolina's going to possibly use him at wing for parts of the season instead of center. Like, why did it proves the point even more that they did it out of spite. They just did it to try and be clever. There was no real tactical idea behind it, I think.
They did it for the memes, I'm telling you.
It's not a good way to run your organization.
Who do they have in the middle? I mean, besides the obvious first line, but who else do they have in the middle?
Who is it? Aho, Stahl, and then Vinny Trocheck, I think. Trocheck's in there, but I think he plays wing here and there too.
Yeah.
He played center when he was in Florida. I don't really know what they use him down in Carolina for. But meh.
Yeah. Who else is exciting? Who are we?
I think I
can't wait to see.
I'm excited to see Seattle tomorrow night against Vegas.
Yes.
And I bash the NHL for this sometimes because there's cool scenes you could see in a season. I understand it's not like NFL where it's 17 games, so you could manufacture a lot of drama in that short season. NHL, normally there are games circled months in advance. I like the fact that they were like, Vegas is playing the Kraken opening night. Like, it's kind of a good model. I think that'll be fun.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, the storyline's cool, right? Because they had completely different expansion draft strategies. So, you have like two philosophies going up against each other there. Seattle's probably going to lose just because we've talked about it before. They're playing the long game, right?
Right.
They're not trying to win this year. They're not trying to go to a conference final or Stanley Cup final this year like Vegas did. So, don't expect much out of them other than just looking good in those uniforms.
Yeah, physically looking good.
I do think though with like Grubauer and some of the offensive and defensive pieces on that team, I don't think they're going to be as bad as some of the other teams in the league. I really don't. I'm not saying like I think they're going to get in the playoffs or they're going to challenge for that Pacific Division, but I do think they can do some damage. Like if you told me it, April 1, they're holding a playoff spot, it wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, I agree with that. They're like starting a rebuild. They're basically starting out in a rebuild sort of scenario, but they've still got some pieces that can make they can put a decent product on the ice. They can make games out of it.
Oh yeah. Did you see Poppy is going to miss the first 3 games of the season?
No, I didn't see that. Why? What's he out for?
So still his wrist, but if you notice the opponents, it was Montreal, and then they play the next 2 games against Ottawa.
Oh, so throwaway games.
I think. Well, I wouldn't say that.
Maybe not
because
Montreal,
their fourth game is against New York. Part of me almost thinks maybe he's close, but I think they think the Montreal and Ottawa games are going to be very rough, to open the season. So maybe they're like, hey, why don't we let's ease you back into this, go against New York. I don't know. That's like the conspiracy theorist to me. Because when I saw he was missing the first 3, I saw the opponents and I'm like, maybe there's something to that. They kind of looked at the schedule or like, we got time here. we don't need to rush this out. Because Brady hasn't signed, right? In Ottawa?
No. Unless something changed like today or since the last time I looked. He hasn't.
I don't think he's signed. So he's holding out just like his brother and his old man did. Classy. We're pro player on this podcast. Like, we want to see the players get paid.
Yeah,
we're down with that. But
get your money.
yeah, get that bag, as the kids say. So yeah, but and then I guess Pittsburgh and Washington. There's a lot of people that aren't predicting those teams to make the playoffs.
Yeah,
They're not.
That's kind of surprising to me. But I'm hearing the same sort of thing.
I think they're battling for like third spot in that division
/ wild card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's where they are at this point. So
Caps are a little more healthy.
But so they're starting to get on the extreme ends of old and young. So,
yeah, it's true. Yeah.
They sent Kepney down coming back from the 2 sort of catastrophic leg injuries, and all accounts were that, he looked strong and healthy in camp and in the couple preseason games, but he also counts for probably more money than he should against the cap at this point. And they have a couple kids that I think they were trying to keep on the big club's roster, so they sent him down. And I didn't check the official announcement today, but it sounds like Hendrix Lapierre is going to stay up, and potentially McMichael. So
okay, cool.
That's kind of a big deal for them, because that goes away from what they've done the last 10 years, where they preferred keeping veterans in the NHL lineup versus giving kids a chance after a season or not even a season in the American League. So
yeah,
it's pretty interesting.
I was gonna say I'm kind of excited to see McMichael play.
Yeah,
he's a pretty interesting young talent for sure. And if anybody listening plays the NHL games, at least in BGM mode on NHL 21, he turns into a superstar. Like, he'd give him a couple of years to play, and he gets to like the 90s in overall skill level. So EA scouts thought that he looked really good.
I remember I was talking maybe a few weeks ago, right when preseason started, to someone in the lot after our game, and I remember they kind of were like, "What do you think?" And I said, it was like, if he can crack the roster and play meaningful time, it makes sense to keep him up. Yeah. But I said, if they're not going to give him, second PK, maybe some time splitting like second and third with some decent minutes, leave him in the AHL. I mean, he only over ripens to that point, but then you do run the risk of, does he miss his window to kind of start clicking at that NHL speed, NHL mindset? I was like, it's very, very, very tricky. And I know the Pens, they sent down Poulin and Laguerre, which I kind of figured they would. But P.O. Joseph, a lot of people were predicting him to make the roster, and he didn't. And he's 22, so now you kind of get in that ballpark of, what is his legit ceiling with the Penguins? And I listened to a really good interview with Ron Hextall about it, where he said, he came into camp, physically in shape. We weren't super pleased with his camp in terms of, he didn't have a bad camp, he didn't have a great camp. And they really want him to take a spot from a veteran, meaning Riedel, Pedersen, maybe even Friedman. One of those 3 guys, they wanted him to physically take that spot, and he has yet to do that. And I know there's a lot of Pens fans too that are like, we got to give P.O. Joseph time. I almost hate saying it. Like, I would rather see him take a spot than him just end up on the roster and him just kind of fitting into like 5th, 6th, 7th defenseman. Personally, that's just me at this point. And he's 22, so he's a defenseman. Let's say another 2 years, give or take, before you really kind of figure out, is he going, to be what we thought he is, or whatever. So he has a little time, yes, but Penguins too. I mean, they're in a weird spot because Letang and Gino are up at the end of the season. Injuries have hurt the team significantly in the last couple of years. Gino's out for months. Sid's skating, but they still definitely said he's not playing opening night, at least as far as I'm aware. They, I think when we're going to be in that area to see the Flyers, Pens, the weekend we go to Johnstown, it's penciled he'll be back by then, but that's still kind of it's a wrist injury with a guy who is a little older, has had wrist issues prior. Like, I mean, look what's happening with Matthews. Not a guarantee he's going to be in the lineup. If he's not, gosh, I mean, why we even get tickets? But
because it's going to be a good time, John.
It's going to be a good time. I want to see everybody in their Team Canada Sidney Crosby jerseys in American City. What? Oh man.
Oh,
that is a pet peeve. Yeah.
I hate it. I say that openly. I hate it. No, sir. Like, come on.
Especially all those Yinzers too. Like they have no ties to Canada.
Those people. I mean, I love Yinzers because that's clearly my people. I'm totally fine with that. But don't wear your Terry Bradshaw and Mean Joe Green jersey to PPG Paints Arena, please. Just don't. When you go to Heinz Field to watch the Steelers, don't wear your Roberto Clemente jersey. Stop it. Just stop it.
No, I don't mind that because it's like the same. It's the same town. I don't mind that because it's like that whole it's that whole sort of like school sports sort of analogy, right? Where all the pro teams support each other, and everybody in town is a fan of all those teams. So like when you wear, the baseball team's stuff to the hockey team's games or vice versa, it makes sense, right? Like,
and
so
in Pittsburgh in particular, Pittsburgh is I think it's the only team that has all of its pro sports teams have the same colors. Correct. So if you're wearing a Pirates jersey, if you're wearing Pirates gear to a Pens game, you still got the colors right at the very least. So if you don't have any hockey stuff, then
my issue 9 times out of 10 is those people have a Mario Lemieux jersey they wore at PNC Park the day before.
Well, I mean,
if they would have coordinated their wardrobe a little better,
it's dirty the day before. It's got beer spilled over it.
It smells like Ray and the boys after pounding a bunch of hammers. Like, I get it. Come on. So, like, geez. No, I agree. Like, if you're walking around in like a Russia Malkin jersey, stop it.
No.
Like,
that doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
Now, if you're walking around in a Na'Vi jersey because you like esports, they have the right colors for Pittsburgh. And Evgeny Malkin just was on the stream. That's what he's doing when he's recovering now from his injury. He's watching streams of people playing Counter-Strike.
Oh, he's like ninja now?
No, he likes the team from Ukraine, actually, because there's a Russian player on there that he likes. I saw some news article yesterday that he went on his stream and donated him $710 to this dude. 71, what do you know?
So for everyone listening, I just have this confusion on my face, and Eric has like a look of like, cool, like just like I don't care. Like, I'm just like,
fine.
I'm just like,
I'm a gamer.
Just smile and nod. Smile and nod.
What was that?
Crossing over to some other demographics, right?
What was it? 3 dangs, 4 oh yes, 2 wows, and the person is still talking. Like, what was it? Something like that?
Dang.
Wow. Oh yeah. Man, that's crazy.
Wait, so Counter-Strike, right? He's doing Counter-Strike?
Yeah,
well, he's watching.
Malkin he plays it too, but he loves Counter-Strike.
So is Counter-Strike, because you used to play it, you used to be into that pretty hardcore. Is that still as big as it was now that gaming is bigger as like a marketplace?
It is the second highest paid esport ever. The only thing bigger is Dota, or one of those stupid games that I hate.
Dota? What is Dota?
Dota. It's some.
Is it Pokemon?
It's some bullshit. Don't even worry about Dota. Dota is terrible.
Dota sounds like a Pokemon to me. Sorry.
No, it's some game where you're on a team with 5 players and you're like, it's almost like StarCraft, but you only have one guy you control. It's dumb. Don't play it. Nobody should play that game. But
Aaron's
there is a really big
today.
there's a really big tournament going on where like the prize money for the first place team is like $18 million or something like that.
Wow.
Like it's actually a huge deal.
Damn.
There's a lot of money in it. But Counter-Strike is the second one in terms of highest paid like winnings and tournaments and all that stuff behind Dota. So and
Okay.
you know, it's competitive. It's a shooter, so it's probably something. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of Counter-Strike players or a lot of hockey players play games like that. I mean, we know that they play Xbox and stuff like that. We saw stories of that all over the place during the bubble. So
Yeah. Well, there's so much downtime, right? So
right.
you know, they go skate in the morning and then, you know, maybe take a nap or whatever. If it's not a game day, you know, there's nothing else to do. They've already skated and worked out and gone to all the meetings, so they have, you know, the rest of the day to do whatever. So
Especially if they're like away at a hotel or something like that.
Yeah.
then,
yeah.
yeah. I bet you there's a lot of that going on.
Oh,
Especially now that they use like those Normatec boots and the other, you know, recovery stuff. Like it just makes sense. Like throw them on your legs or your knees and you just kind of relax on
Chill
the
out.
couch and just
Yeah.
play. So it makes sense.
Play as yourself in NHL.
Yeah, right.
Can you imagine if like Nathan McKinnon like trades all his teammates away because he's like, I saw him eating brownies today. I don't want him on my NHL team anymore. Like I can see him like just trading everybody away. Like Lando comes over his house. He's like, hey man, I thought we were on the same team. He's like, you ate that brownie a few weeks ago. I traded you.
I traded you for Sid. You and a 7th rounder for Sid so we can play together.
Actually, I'm curious. So, do you ever think, like, especially since NHL players are like, we always talk like creatures of habit and all that stuff. Like, do you ever think there's a guy that like similar to like Juju Smith with the Steelers, where he's like big on Twitch and stuff? And I'm sure there's other athletes. I just know Juju from the Steelers. I'm sure there's other ones. Do you think any NHLers are that big? Or do you, I mean, you may follow it more than I do, Aaron. I'm sorry, I don't.
What do you mean
Like
big? Like
on
like
Twitch
that
and
hardcore
stuff.
into
Like he
it?
does a bunch of stuff on Twitch, like with gaming. Are there any NHL guys that do? Or
They're not on Twitch.
There's a couple of guys that do like they do stream a little bit or whatever, or they at least participate in other people's streams. Malkin's actually really, really one of the biggest ones that comes to mind, in fact. He's on Twitch streams all the time. And he follows those Counter-Strike tournaments. I wouldn't be surprised if he knows a couple of the players, like the pro Counter-Strike players. If he knows them personally, plays with them a lot. Wouldn't surprise me at all. Because there's a bunch of Russians, but a bunch of Ukrainians, and he probably knows a bunch of them. And he does do a lot on Twitch. I think I saw something Guryanov does too from the Stars. He's big into that stuff too.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm sure that there's a few that do. Malkin's the only one that comes to mind, but they got the downtime, like we said, so they probably have little, online lives, if you will.
But they're not like streaming their own stuff. Like they're just like watching other people and
yeah, like I think one of the networks did something where they had the players playing NHL 21 or something like that.
Yeah.
In lieu of playing actual games or whatever. And the only thing interesting about it was the players actually talking. And it wasn't there was nothing cool that came out of it, except for I think there was some memes about Kuznetsov when he was asked on the stream what his favorite soda was, and he said Coke.
Oh,
But I think that's about as good as it
no.
gets.
He misread the question and thought nose candy. He's like, Coke. Yeah, it's on. Oh. Actually,
that's not right.
That's not right.
speaking of drug testing, a lot of nations had to officially offer 3 Olympic slots to, potential teammates. Canada, we all kind of figured out. I was kind of ticked at Team Germany because they had Leon Draisaitl. Who was it? Was it Grubauer?
Yep.
And then they had Schneider from Detroit, who's probably going to end up on the team, but not Jimmy Stutzla.
No.
Like Jimmy Stu?
Yeah.
Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Dude, it's just an announcement. Like, I guarantee you, Stutzla has already been. He's already been approached. He's got his tickets already, like, bought and all that stuff. He knows he's going, and everybody else knows he's going. So it's a media thing. They're just trying to drum up. Like, oh, they didn't say, like, it's just, some other nation did the same thing too. Like, didn't name somebody who was completely obvious. I forget who it was. Who's done announcements so far?
Latvia,
Germany's done it.
Sweden, Germany, USA, Canada. Finland,
there was somebody
obviously.
else. Russia. There was somebody else that was glaringly missing someone. It's like, oh, well, this guy's obviously. I think it might have been USA and Matthews wasn't on it or something like that.
No. He was on there. It was him and Seth Jones and
Kaner
and Patty Kane. Yeah.
And I was like, my only issue with the Kane thing, and I made not in a rude way. I think if you're above 28 and you play, you're a United States born hockey player. I think Team USA should have a hard line and go, you have to earn your slot.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And do I 100% think Patty Kane is on the team? Yeah, I really legitimately do. However, that being said, I want to see him earn it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I want to see him come out guns a-blazing this year. Like, especially
with all the young talent in the American-born roster, like all those U.S. national team development kids, Caulfield, Zegras, all those guys. You can't, and then the guys that are on, they have legit NHL contracts right now. Like, you can't look past them, the younger talent, to go after veteran presence or whatever your term is.
Well, you got to think too that part of it might also be money. I mean, some of these names are going to
with advertising and stuff, I'm sure.
So there's probably some of that involved, but yeah, they shouldn't just automatically get a spot just because of their name. I mean, they should absolutely have to earn it when all these kids that are coming up are going to be them in 10 years or whatever. So,
I really like the last Olympics because we took a lot of people, like Jordan Greenway was on the team. There are a lot of kids that were still in NCAA who were able to go outside of their NCAA eligibility that 1 year. They made an exemption for them to go play in the Olympics. And Team USA, we got smoked by, what is it, Olympic Athletes of Russia, which is a joke. We won't even go there, but whatever. Right. I have my own issues with Russia hockey, whatever. But well documented. But and I don't want to stand on a soapbox like I'm going to go down the mall in DC and say all this, but I almost feel like it is. Just saying it. There's something special about watching those guys play, especially some of the guys in the AHL that in a normal year, they're not even, I'm not even talking about they get invited to an Olympic tryout skate. They're not even on the map. They probably in their head, they're like, oh, there's 80 other guys ahead of me. But that year they were able to do it and they played their hearts out and they did a really good job considering the fact that USA, we were somewhat hindered because of the fact that, a lot of the European teams, some of their high-end talent plays in the KHL or the Czech Extra League or the Dell League or, Swedish Elite. So I just have a feeling too, with the younger guys, we're talking about Caulfield and Zegras, those guys, because they have a positive connection with USA Hockey and they won recently and they still really genuinely care about putting that sweater on, I'd rather see those guys personally go than some of the older guys. I'm not mentioning Patty Kane specifically, but there's a few old guys I hope they don't take, but I'm not going to,
John Carlson.
Yeah, he's one of them. I like him. I think he's great, but I don't think for this team. Like, I
Shouldn't
think the
be.
only way, like, I said it on our group text, like Canada, my brain tells me, like, obviously USA, but if I'm like betting money here, like really betting money, Canada, my heart for some reason says Sweden, because Swedish hockey always shows up at these events. Finland's a dark horse because they work really hard. Like, and if you look at specifically Sweden and Finland, they have this really good mix. They have a few elder statesmen, but after that, it's a lot of young guys moving up and down the ice. And I think those teams can really skate. Canada certainly has some burners on that team, but
for me, in those short form tournaments, you need youth. For me, especially the way the game's played now, and like the NHL is a lot more wide open because of the rule changes over the last 10, 15 years. The international game is even more wide open because it's even more
bigger ice.
It's even more strict about.
Yeah, they call it a little differently too.
About, obstruction type calls and any of those things that are going on. So you not only if you're playing on the Olympic ice surface, you get the extra 15 feet or whatever, but at the same time, the third team that's on the ice is giving you more room because you're getting more power play chances. You're able to spread the ice more because those, obstructive sort of borderline plays that don't always get called in the NHL, depending on the situation, will get called in the international game. There's very little wiggle room. So, give me the young guys. Let's go skate. Let's be creative. Let's use the extra ice if we're on the international ice surface. Like, let's, give me the guys that have won on the international stage at an elite level in a World Junior Championship in the last, 5-6 years. Give me that generation of talent. And then fill in as you need role players that are vets, that are, proven NHL vets that can, kind of have that strong voice when things are kind of weird, in a game or going into a game or whatever the situation is, But from a roster construction standpoint overall, I want to see those young guys flying around in a short round robin. What do they play? Like 3-4 games in the round robin.
Yeah.
Then you get to the elimination round and it's single game elimination. Right?
Mm-hmm. Anything can happen.
You got to show up and you got to skate. Like that's why the World Junior Championships are so exciting, is because those games are so fast. Like once they get to those single game eliminations, they're so fast. And there's so much happening in the flow of the games and all that's going on. Give me the young guys. Let's go.
You think Owen Power has any chance of making Canada's roster as deep
Not
as
as
they
a
are?
D-man. Not as a D-man,
no. Without that team, no.
Dude.
Yeah. They just have too many good players that can be in those slots.
It's again, like we're
crazy.
we're focusing on Team USA because we're Americans. Right. But that Canadian team, it is almost a foregone conclusion that they are going to win the gold medal.
Yeah.
Just based on projected rosters by people talking about it.
Tavares is a third liner.
Yeah.
Like that's what you're saying. Yeah. Like we talked about this. Tavares and Braden Point are your third and fourth center. Like in what world?
That's insane.
Aaron, you mentioned something about Owen Power. I would just like to say this, since NCAA ice hockey started this weekend. Well, kind of officially, it was a big kickoff where all the schools were in action for the most part. It was awesome. saw some great highlights out of our buddies in Minnesota State, both
Yeah.
men's and women's. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Both of those teams are kicking ass right now.
I know. Really kicking ass. So
Great.
I'm hoping it keeps it up. Let's go.
Mr. Brighter's probably a little busy, so
Yeah, he's a busy boy, I'm sure. But whoever does the University of Michigan's social, whoever does it, not only does a spectacular job, it blows away some NHL teams' social media. There's so much, like, and it's just little things. Like, I know, like, every game day, I'm going to that Instagram page and watching anything they post, anything, because it's just, they do like these little things, especially the day after, where I not only get all the highlights, but it's like integrated with music and whatnot. It's just great. And it's always top notch. And the cool thing too about the Instagram page, because I'm a dork, they have like the player gear that they all get for being NCAA guys and gals. So it's like kind of cool. They show all that shit. Like it's just like an extra touch. I'm into it. I don't know. I'm a nerd. I know. I'm like, man, I wish I got some of this access, for the Penguins or whatever. Like some of the little touches they do. It's just top notch. It's great.
Well, when Dana used to run his own account, you would see some of the Penn stuff, but I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened there, but it was cool when he ran his own socials.
Yep.
I heard part of the rumor on that, and this is from my own like Twitter deep dive. He was getting harassed and whatnot, and he just was like, "Fuck it, I'm done."
Yeah.
He was always interesting. He didn't interact at all, but he was like the three things he would always post, and as goofy as it was, I loved it. He would always post the morning brew of coffee every morning, and it was like. It was so cool.
It was always two brews, Duncan and Timmy Hose.
Exactly. Every single time.
It was always two brews. And I'm like, okay, so he's got to have Tim's for the Canadian dudes, and he's got Duncan for everybody else.
For Sully.
And Sully.
Yeah,
and Sully.
Sully
actually, it might as well have just been labeled Sully's coffee. That's all that dude drinks.
And then he would always show the jerseys being hung up, which I liked. Yeah. It's a nice little touch. And then he would show random things like either skate sharpening or just like little helmet stuff, like, trying to say, Sidney Crosby got a new helmet, and he put the stickers on it. It was just like, it was cool. It was different because it was inside look, and he's been with that team for forever. 1 billion years at this point. I mean, Johnstown.
He started in Johnstown. Yeah.
Johnstown Hall of Fame. I'd like to shout out. Yeah, exactly. So
he's got a banner at the Cambridge County War Memorial.
Yeah, that's right. Believe it. He does.
we have a banner at the Polish Falcons. Our jerseys up there. So
that's right. It is. That's right. Nest 97.
Mm-hmm.
In Windber. Windber, PA.
Not Windberg. Windber.
No.
We should probably mention why we only have 3 of us tonight. We gave Daniel the night off. He actually has a hockey game tonight, so that's why it's just the 3 of us tonight.
Yeah, wow.
We'll give him a pass.
We played last night. He plays tonight, and then I play on Wednesday.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'll be skating Friday afternoon. So, yeah.
And I got a coach Tuesdays and Thursdays. So
Aaron's going to be streaming his NHL games.
I'll be streaming my NHL games.
His buddies with Nathan McKinnon.
See if Malkin wants to give me a donation for $71.
Yeah.
Well, that's enough for this one. Even if you're not an NHL player, you can still get us on Patreon if you want to help us out. And we'll even send you a koozie or a pint glass or something. You can find that at beersinalot.com/Patreon. Or if you want to talk about video games with me, I'm on the Beers in a Lot Discord, which you can get to at beersinalot.com/Discord. Sometimes we even talk about hockey. But no matter what, if you made it this far, you've listened to this episode, which means we are appreciative of you, and we thank you for your listen. Have a great one, and we'll catch you next week.